In today's video, we're going to cover everything from packaging, swatches, textures, performance, durability. Is it water resistance? Do you get your money's worth? Are you going to love this palette based on your color preferences? What do I think about this palette as a makeup artist? Let's go dive into this palette. This is supposed to be your everyday palette from lightest to darkest shade. You can deepen up your shade. This is how packaging looks like. Purchased this palette from her website as soon as it was launched and came delivered within this, which I thought, oh, my package is looking so slim, but when you think about it, this is so sturdy, it's well protected, so that was a big plus. This is how palette looks like. I have to say, on the photos, I didn't like at all this packaging, but now when I look at it, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it looks way better in person than it looks on pictures. And this is supposed to be some kind of QR code. I haven't had time to scan this. I've literally got this palette today and wanted to film this as soon as possible. You're going to get big size mirroring here, which you can pull all the way. This is the color story. This is how palette looks like inside. For the cost of $67, you're going to get 2 new Gel Hybrid Eyeliner Shadows, also new 2 High Shine Wet Metallics. Another new product is Crushed Flake Gold, 2 Powder Metallics, 9 Powder Matte Eyeshadow. While I was watching this palette, one thing I realized is that, I don't know why, apparently I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but actually this Courageous is actually a duochrome. It doesn't shift that strong. It does have a dark base. If the camera can catch this, it is duochrome. Look that I created today was created mostly with this side right here. I did use this shade right here as well. This is the side that I actually prefer, that I like. This one, however, I haven't used it on for my eye makeup look, but it is just not too warm. Before anything, it's too orange. It is not something that I like, except for Keep Going shade. For me, everything else here when it comes to mattes is just too orange. I will say that we do have a lot of textures in here, totally different textures to work with. So even though we do have a lot of mattes, even more, we have different textures, as I said. I have to say this palette is really aesthetically pleasing, and the color story when you open it looks really, really nice. Right away, let's dive into each individual shade. Let's look at close how it looks like, how it's swatched. We have 2 Gel Hybrid Eyeliner Shadows, Purpose and Worthy. When I swatched them, I was surprised how creamy they are. They are so creamy. First concern that I have, that they are not protected. We are having a lot of shimmers in here, chrome flakes. So that will go, unfortunately, will stick to this gels right here, and it's something that's already happening. So whenever you want to do something, I would like for it to be just without any glitter because it is matte. However, their texture, they look pigmented, but actually they are sheer. You have to build it up. Whenever you blend them, they go really sheer. As I'm gonna mention in my tutorial, I'm not using this in my waterline. It's not water resistance, something I don't like when I'm doing my eyeliner, or especially I'm wearing contact lenses right now. I don't want to use this in my waterline, so I used instead my other products that I usually do. For blending eyeshadows on top of this, I loved it. It gives depth. It is something that I usually do when I'm creating looks for the most part. So that's something that I really loved. Let's go into 2 High Shine Wet Metallics. I really love these. I even used Bold Moves for my highlighter, but I had to sheer it because it's really pigmented. They are really pigmented. And I love the undertone. 1 Crushed Flake Gold. When I was applying this, it applies the best with a finger, because when I try to use my flat brush, which I usually use for this type of products, it pressed it in. So I couldn't use it. So instead I had to use my finger. But it is really pigmented. I think the undertone is really beautiful. We have 2 powder metallics. I haven't used them today, but this is how they swatch. This is how they look like. Then we have 9 powder matte eyeshadow. Again, I love this cool tone side. I didn't use the right one because for me, again, for the most part, it's too orangey. They swatched a bit hard on my hand when I swatched them, but when I used them on my eyes, I didn't have trouble blending them. I think they went really nice and smoothly. Then something, again, I haven't heard anywhere seen in the description, but we do have 1 duochrome, and then we have this manifested, which it's having some gel in the middle, but then when you mix it, when you swatch it, it's not doing anything for me. I think I would mix this with something else, and I think it needs to be set because otherwise it will crease if you put this on your eyelid. Another good thing about mattes, when I swatched them, they were water resistant, they didn't go anywhere, so that is good. I really like the look that I created today. It is holding really good so far. Without any further ado, let's jump into this tutorial so I can show you how I achieved this. Let's dive into this palette. I already have my base on. Hilo uses bases in number 0 and 3, which I mixed together. Now, obviously, because we do have creams, I will be starting with them. I'm gonna take Purpose shade right here. And one thing I'm concerned, these cream eyeshadows, they're not protected. I can already see in my Purpose shade some of the gold flakes. And that's something that messes up your work, especially if you are just doing, for example, liner or something, you don't want anything extra in it. I'm going to take this small brush. As you can see on the picture, it had a lot of kind of little bubbles in it. Just if you're wondering, in this case, the mirror goes all the way, so it's flat. Of course, check if I do have any creasing. First, I'm going to do my outline. Products on my brush, and I am working in first with my inner corner. I love the fact that this is creamy. It's super creamy. I was even a little bit surprised at the creaminess of this product. Going to take a little bit bigger brush, and then I'm going to blend this in. As you blend this in, I realized that it gets really sheer. You do know I am all about pigment. Now, I'm gonna take really precise brush so I can make the outline. For this technique that I'm doing, I will definitely need to set this. One thing that I've done, I tried to test it if it's water resistant. Unfortunately, these are not. I'm talking about these cream eyeshadows. So right away, I would say I would hesitate to wear this as an eyeliner or in my waterline. So that's not what I'm gonna do today. So instead of that, I'm gonna use something else. But now, since I wanted to create more of a cooler tone look, I will be using these shades right here. So I'm gonna use this side of the palette. Now, if I'm looking at this palette, we can combine her into warmer and cooler tones. This base right here is to create more of a cool, and this one, when it leads to a little bit, it's not that brownish, it's more of a little bit of purplish tone. So I would use this for my other eyeshadows that I won't be using today. That being said, next shade I'm gonna be using is the shade Winner. Taking small brush, take the fallout out, and connecting this with the previous cream shade. I did leave this part right here without anything, and I am kind of afraid if it's going to mess up. Well, we'll see if it's gonna hold, at least for the purposes of this video. That's the reason why I'm using my Inglot MC gel eyeliners in 77 for the most part, or any AMC gel liner from Inglot in general. I'm following the direction. Whenever you're creating looks like this, make sure you are following your directions of the eye shape that you want to create. It will really sheer out once you blend it, so I am reapplying product again. This one is not super pigmented. It's really creamy, but when it comes to pigmentation, it's good to add depth. To put eyeshadow on top, but that's it. Again, I wouldn't use this as an eyeliner. And added that to the outline, and now I am blending this. Now I'm grabbing shade Big Dreams. Connecting that shade to the previous one. This one has a beautiful undertone. I'm gonna take blending brush and to blend a little bit these edges. I'll say it blends really nicely. Now for the last one, I'm going in with shade Rebel, adding that color to the previous one. So I am keep on adding colors, one next to each other. Next step is to use these shimmers, and I will be using a couple of formulas. But first, I am adding my Louise in shade 0 to really lighten up the center of today's look. I'm using a little bit of shade Bold Moves just to lighten up the center. I tried to pick up this shade right here with a flat brush, but actually it's not working. So instead I had to use my finger, and I am mixing Limitless and Bold Moves together. Now this formula is really foiled. This is a true foil. Shiny, really pigmented. The only thing I was concerned, it really showed my wrinkles. From this part right here, I did wanted to use this shade right here, but I'm trying to mix it as much as I can, playing with the edges. So working this shade just on the edges. Glitters are going pretty much everywhere. I am adding up a little bit of a Rebel shade just because when I applied everything, I just lost some of the shading. Now again in the center, I'm going in with the shade Bold Moves. When bold mousse and limitless are together, they do give nice beautiful shade. Now adding just a limitless underneath my brow bone, and it is beautiful. We don't have light matte shading here, but this is what I'm gonna use. It's the only one I have. I don't mind it. Now I'm gonna move on to my lower lash line. I am using shade Purpose. Taking a smaller brush, and I will not connect at the moment this area right here. Not struggling with the blending. I will clean up this a little bit later even more, but for now I will be using shade Winner and combine that shade with this one. So I am reapplying same shades one step at a time. Now I'm moving to a shade Big Dreams. I wasn't expecting this to be that much dark, so I am adding the last shade, Rebel. I still don't know if I want to keep everything matte or I will apply some of the shimmers. But yeah, definitely need to clean this. I'm adding shade Visionary. I will also clean this up just to see where I am when it comes to shape. And now I will finish off this look by putting some eyelashes, gel eyeliner, but not from this palette. It has to be waterproof into my waterline. Finish off the rest of my look and I will be right back. Now, my final thoughts when it comes to this palette. Me personally, I can get use out of many textures that we have in here. Maybe if you are looking for something simple and everyday, maybe this may not be palette for you, regardless of many matte eyeshadows in here. But creatively, I can experiment with lots of textures in here and to do variety of looks. I think the undertones are good and will be appealing to a lot of skin tones. But if I'm going to look at my personal preference, I don't like, again, these orange undertones. But again, if I mix this with something else, then I may have something that I actually like. Good thing is that we have these purples, then we have oranges, yellows, this grayish color as well, and this one is more plummy than I initially thought it's more brown, but it's not. So you can mix a lot of these undertones and they will remain more, because it's a neutral palette, it will remain more neutral. Again, I was surprised with the packaging on the pictures. It was something I didn't like, but now I think it looks kind of cool actually. I will definitely continue to use this palette to see what I can achieve with it and how the eyeshadow will perform. I really want to give it a shot. Look that I created, I loved. You can do so many things with this. I'm still thinking how to use this Manifest It eyeshadow because the texture and the color is weird, so I will try to implement that as well. For the price point of $67, when we look at the variety of the textures in here, I get why it's a little bit on pricier side. And again, it is Huda Beauty brand. If you are more into mattes, then I don't know how much you're going to get from this palette, because obviously it is just one portion of the palette. If you are not that much into creams, then we'll have to remove these three eyeshadows for sure, because they are super creamy, even though these metallics are strong, but you can apply them within this matte somehow, but these ones are specific to work with, that's why. If you like to experiment with the textures, then this is something you may like. It's been a long day. I'm so happy to deliver this review for you. I will keep on using this palette. Before you leave, let me know in the comment section down below what are your thoughts about this palette. Let me know if you've tried it or not, or if you're planning on purchasing it or not. Before you go, make sure to watch this video where I talk about another new makeup release. I will see you in my next one. Bye!